and welcome to the New Earth Co-Creators podcast. So happy to be here. I'm here, of course, with the absolutely beautiful Isabel Hunt, and also our UK Spider-Man, Mr. Peter, Paul Parker.
Hey!
I sound like a game show host. Game of consciousness. Woo! Anyway, we have an interesting topic we're talking about today, yes?
Yes, today we want to talk about when your healing journey actually makes you sick or more sick than what you thought you could be. Yeah, and I can start because it came up from another discussion that I've had, not just this morning, but also yesterday with my own dad, who does similar work than I do. So this morning I was in this really beautiful mom group, and this poor mom, she's just like, I have worked with my practitioner for 6 years and he's great, love him, but I feel like I'm not going anywhere. And she has a long list of things that she's suffering from mold poisoning to Hashimoto to, I don't even, like, there's way too much. And she's like, I'm so exhausted. I don't know what to do anymore. And I'm totally broke too, because all of that costs money. Insurance doesn't pay holistic practitioners, right? And so I said, I know that's probably not the suggestion you like to hear, but when I have clients that come to me and say, I've done so much work over the last couple of years, but now I feel even worse, or I feel completely empty, I have to look at really, like, maybe you just need to stop doing the work altogether for a while. Like, just really give yourself a break from doing the work. Because if we approach the healing journey from doing the work, we're exhausting our adrenals. We're exhausting our entire nervous system. And when our body is already on a very low vibration, how are we supposed to heal? We can only heal when we're on a higher vibration. And that is over, looking at numbers, that is over, I believe, over 65 hertz. Like, your body has to be on a over 65. Anything under is, triggering certain illnesses that your body responds to. So, of course, anything you do for your healing journey, your body takes in, but it takes it to survive, just to survive, because you're already in an exhaustion state altogether from the very beginning, right? I had one client, she is now living in Japan, and she came to me and she's like, I did all these release work and it felt great in the moment, but now I don't even know who I am anymore. And that's where a lot of practitioners stop. They love to do the release work and they love to do, whatever they consider as healing, but they forget to restore the client. Meaning, if their body has never had the experience or does not have the memory of what it feels like to be happy, to be healthy, to be whole, they will never be able to tap into that feeling of wholeness and healthy, because their body just doesn't know. In theta healing, we do it on a spiritual level, where we ask Creator to help the client understand what it feels like on their entire, on all levels of their existence throughout time and space, to be happy, to feel happy, right? So we go through all these different, phrases that we use. But it was really interesting to me to see the patterns. My dad yesterday said to me, he's like, yeah, it's funny because so many people expect the healing journey to take so long when they come to EMDR and wing wave, which I do as well. And he does that as well. He does wing wave. I'm more focused on EMDR, but the difference is just muscle testing. And I do that anyway through theta. But he said, sometimes they come to me and they only have 1 or 2 sessions to release and to shift the energetic components within their body. And then they fall into shock. Like, it's almost too fast. And then, of course, other things come up. And he's like, I don't know how people do it, sitting there for years and years to try to heal, when you can actually help support your body in understanding what it feels like to heal in a much quicker way. So a lot of healing work can actually make you feel worse.
It can. And, and it's not something that people are really prepared to deal with.
No.
I often, when I work with my clients through the methodology that I teach, there is a moment when I'll talk to them and I say, Leo, it's like walking through a wall of fire. It's what it feels like. Most people are terrified, right? To look at fire in that perspective, because fire represents destruction, pain, death. That gets so hot, it hurts. It's like, oh, it's just terrifying. And this is all a metaphor for the nervous system and how it responds in survival mode and what this is all about, and how it's patterned and what's familiar to it. So, but the minute that you're willing to step into that fire, the minute that you're actually willing to say, okay, I'm just doing it. I'm embracing the pain. I'm embracing the ugliness. I'm embracing the ick. I'm embracing whatever that is that's going on that's making me feel like I can't. Right? The minute they step into the fire, it's gone. It's gone. There's nothing there. Right? They're through. There's no pain. There's no burning. There's no destruction. And in fact, there's the ability now to create, because fire, for as destructive a force as it is, fire is also the source of creation. Out of the fire, all things come, right? So it's a really interesting idea. And the simplest thing that I've seen with people has been just, smudging. Those, familiar with smudging, using white sage to clear out orgone or this dead energy, right? Stuff that doesn't belong to us. So a lot of people, when they first step onto a healing path or an awareness path, they learn about smudging, because it's something that a lot of practitioners from all different philosophies, right, all different backgrounds, they have this in common, using smoke to clear, right? But what practitioners fail to do often, because they weren't taught it, is you clear your space. Now you've got this clear space, and then you just leave it clear, right? What's the one thing we know? Nature abhors a vacuum. So if we clear the space, but we do not fill it with anything, then what ends up happening is we attract that same energy, frequency, or vibration that's always been there to just come right back in again. And yes, it might be something different. And yes, it could be something opportunistic, whole other conversation. However, if we are not making the choices that you just talked about, Isabel, like, okay, how do we fill this space with what we want? It's like real simple. You can just bring in pink light. You can bring in white light. You can bring in love. You can bring in peace. You can bring in anything you want. But once you've cleared that space with that sage, that's your next step, is to really just bring the energy in, however you do it, just even through just opening up your hand and holding your hand out and the energy flow through. You've got to fill that space in order for it to actually hold a different frequency or vibration.
Yeah, and it's always the release, call in, release, right, call in. Yeah.
And I'm sure, Peter, that you deal with a similar thing with people in learning how to connect to themselves physically and what that looks like, because most people disconnect from their physical body for numerous reasons. One of the number one reasons, right? People take a pill. They don't feel. They don't want to feel. They don't want to feel the pain. They don't want to feel the ache. They don't want to feel the lack of flexibility. So they take medication, because that's what we've been taught to do, right? We all live in first world countries where medication is the go-to, right? And it completely blocks out their connection to the actual healing that they're capable of.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I would say that, spoken like a Qigong master, we say water up, fire down, water up, fire down. Yeah. So the reason the water goes up is the feminine energy coming up the back to cool the brain, to make the brain work properly. And the fire down is the fire coming down into your lower abdomen, which is your creativity, your passion, your power. It's all about the fire. And the fire is cleansing and the water is nurturing. So it's the male, female, yin and yang running around the body. And I've found through my work with the dream method, people are either like a diamond, where i.e. their heart chakra is completely out of control and they're trying to be empathetic with everybody, and that just doesn't work. Or they're an upside down pyramid, i.e. all the energy's up the top, so the fire's going up rather than down and the water's going down rather than up. So they're all messed up. And it usually comes from a childhood trauma. It could be as something like somebody's forgot their daughter's birthday. The father forgot the birthday, which has been one of my clients. And that has upset her all the way through her life. Or there was somebody else who was changed, which happened to me, a year at school, had to go back forward a year at school. So therefore she didn't know any of the curriculum at that point. And so therefore that caused her feelings of being stupid. So she's always going back to that point and being triggered from that point and reacting to life from that point, and never really gone back to that little girl. And when she gets back to that little girl, she's scared of coming back out and filling the space with the energy of that little girl, because you think she's going to be taken advantage of again, and the men are going to be around predatoring her again, because that's what they've been doing all her life, making her look like stupid and using and abusing her good nature, basically. So it's that whole thing of coming back to the body. The body is so important in this physical domain. And that's what I loved about the teachings that I was getting, because I was getting all this lovely, beautiful, esoteric Tao philosophies. And I'm going, well, yeah, because I'm real conceptual. I'm not so good at the sort of tangible outcomes. I was really conceptual. So I was getting all of that. But I'm thinking, well, how does this work? How does this work? How does this work? And then as soon as it came back to the body, you go, oh, now I get all of that. I get all of it now. And it all makes it feel sense to be a human being. Because before that, I was like looking into a big blue cloud and going, what the heck am I doing here? It's like so hard. And I get why people go through that healing crisis, as it were, because people are cherry picking things and not really understanding what's happening. So I think it really has to be, healers really need to be deeper with their healing in the respect that use the body. And when the body needs to stop, it's like Deborah said it a few weeks ago to me. It says, well, I've just had to listen to my body this week. And I'm going, great. How many people say that? Not many people I know say that, really. And I think that's important, to listen to your body, like you were saying, Isabel. Stop everything and be yourself. Just be. And I think that's so important, because everybody's getting exhausted because the information coming at us. Is the world going to end? You know, is Velikovsky's predictions right? Is the banking crash going to happen? Is there going to be food starvations? We are being hit by so much stressful stuff. And if there's uncertainty in your life, that will trigger your childhood trauma, without a doubt. So all this trauma is coming to a surface now. I think we are lifting the veil of what we are as human beings, and seeing what terrible position that we could be perceived to be in. But actually, it's quite easy to heal it. But we need to have the right tools, I feel, and it takes a bit of time, but not that long. I agree with Isabel. I don't think it takes that long. It shouldn't take a lifetime. If you're taking too long with your healing, I think you're with
there's
the wrong
something
person.
else going on. Yeah, you need to ask different questions. One thing, especially when
most people intellectually, they go through this whole process intellectually. But they didn't understand that there's emotional and physical, spiritual. There's all of these realms that we live in, and all of these dimensions that we live in. So they do all this intellectualization, which, with all due respect to therapists, I've had many years ago, I've had a couple of very incredible, and I admit they were out of the box thinkers, therapists that helped me through a couple of things that I really, truly needed. So all due respect to therapists, given there is also this sort of thing where they get in this intellectual loop, and they go every week for years and years and years having the same conversation, which admittedly helps them, I think, cope day to day, because they talk it out, but it never brings them through to the other side. No. And it's like, well, that's got it. I know from, and I know you said this before we got on, Isabel, that there's nothing more poignant than feeling so broken that you've been in therapy for 12 years and you still don't get it. Right. And again, with all due respect to the entire process, because I truly do respect it. It's just, no matter what, if you're doing 12 years of anything and you still don't get it, you're still like feeling lost, then there's something missing.
Yeah, there's like either the therapist or the practitioner is missing something. And I think, going back to the example of this amazing mom, if you look at everything that's going on, I ask, what is the emotional component of all of that would actually bring it together? Because those are just symptoms of something much deeper. And probably resistance to healing. That's in one way or another, it's benefiting her to have this list, and to continue to exhaust herself through the activities that are being given to her. EMDR, it's the same thing. I talked to my dad a long time last night, and we were talking EMDR and Wingwave, and it was really good conversation. And when we understand how the body works on an energetic level, just like you said, we can actually move things much faster. And sometimes it takes only 1 or 2 sessions to actually get to the point of it but you have to be good at it as a practitioner to really get to the understanding. It's not just the obvious, it's so much more underneath that. You know, all of, like, if you have a list of illnesses and you have done all this work from, you know, supplements to medications to emotional work, you have to ask yourself, what is the negative connotation that you believe about yourself to be true, that resonates with you not being capable of healing?
Yeah, so I call that the foundational lie within my practice.
Exactly. Yeah, in EMDR we call it negative cognition, and then you move through this. For those who are more aware and have done a lot of work, what I can suggest is, we call it the butterfly effect. Kind of like, I think they call it different, not effect, but something with butterfly. I teach it to the kids. So you just use your hands like this, like a butterfly, right? I keep moving. The camera is messing me up. And you put it over your chest right here. And then I'm looking in my camera. We were talking about this earlier. I'm looking in the camera. I'm like, which side do I have to go up and down? But what helps is, you know how we have the left and the right hemisphere, brain hemisphere, as well as the energetic components. The left is actually connected to the right side of your body. The right side is actually connected to your left side. And so what we do here, especially with breathing, if you realize you're breathing really heavy and hard, you can do 1, 2, and go with your breathing, and then start to really consciously go lower, slower and slower and slower. So you're activating both sides of your energetic being, of your physical body as well as your energetic body, to be reconnected again. Similar to the exercise you gave us, Peter, right? To reconnect to your body, that actually initiates the healing process. Because often we feel like the healing has to happen kind of outside of us. Like, I have to take supplements, I have to take medications, I have to do this exercise, I have to do that. When it is really the reconnection, the initiation with your body again.
So for people who are listening and not seeing this, because like, what are you talking about?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Thumbs sort of threaded around each other in our palms. I guess what is there, a right over left or left over right?
No, either way works. It's just that it's like a butterfly movement.
A butterfly, yeah. Fingers are flayed and then they're across the chest. So you're going right across your chest. And when you breathe in, is there a right or left to that either, or does it matter?
No, you just do one or the other.
You tap. You basically lift up.
You can even sway with it as well if you want to. I do that with kids, because as soon as you realize your negative cognition, like let's say a statement of, I don't know how to heal, I feel helpless, I'm hopeless. Those are the negative connotations. And you keep working through this. With EMDR, we can actually work through it with the eye movement as well as with that. With kids, I do it with that. And then I have them find the positive cognition. What is it that you actually want to believe? And you keep that in your mind and you slowly work through it. And we have a scale system where on a scale 1 to 10 or 1 to 7, depending on which scale you use, how much do you feel you're still connected to the negative cognition? And then, you know, when you go through it, how much more do you feel connected to the positive cognition? It's very simple, actually. And if people are already aware of where they're at, they can use that even on themselves to an extent without fooling themselves. Because a lot of people, you know, fool themselves pretty well when it comes to, I can do it myself, I can do this.
Well, everybody tries to be the independent warrior, right? Everybody does. Like I talk, oh yeah, you know, I've done workshops, I've done speaking and stuff, and the premise of just like I've had conversations with people where we've done one session, they're like, oh, I get it, right? It's like, wow, how did I exist this way for 50 something years? And suddenly it's like, that made total sense. Now I understand why all these things happened, you know, and it like happened in 30 minutes. How did that take place? And they're like, okay, I'm going to go work on that. And I'm like, and they don't really realize, like, and it's not, and I get what you're saying. Yes, they're really good at fooling themselves into thinking that they know. It's also the intellect that's taking over. It's the intellect, the brain, but it's also the survival impulse, right? The way the neurons wire and fire that start convincing them of certain things. And That's the thing where people don't realize. This is why we're interdependent. You know, we need each other, because if you're all floating in the beautiful blue Caribbean Sea that you can see down, I don't know how many feet, and you're having great fun and you're enjoying, and you want me to dive in, but every time I try to dive in, I see a great big white shark waiting for me, right? You know, I'm never going to get past that great white shark, because nobody in their right mind, literally, is going to jump into the jaws of a great white shark, right? It's just not going to happen, even though they can see everybody else out there. And honestly, if there was some great white swimming around, most people would be on the boat. You know, nobody's really out there going, let me test this theory. They're coming on the boat. So, you know, on some level that this is not really a truth.
Yeah.
But you are so caught in that survival loop. Your nervous system is so wired to keep you alive that it will literally usurp any desire, anything. It doesn't matter how badly you may want something. It doesn't matter if I'm literally on deck perishing from the heat and all I need to do is get in the water.
Yeah.
It won't matter, right? And that's the thing that I think people don't really fully realize, is how well we are programmed for this, and how deep that programming goes, and how unconscious it actually is. Because this is your body literally going through a pattern without any reality happening for you in your day-to-day existence. And if we don't believe that that's possible, just think about, like, when was the last time you thought, oh, is my heart beating? I better check and make sure, you know, oh, am I breathing? You know, oh, is my liver functioning? Or my kidneys doing what? We don't think about any of that stuff, right? None of that. But yet we're thinking about it all the time, right? That's what I'm talking about. That's where this lives, is in that same place.
Yeah.
But people think it's their reality. They think that's it. This is how I am. This is dead set, rock solid,
right.
Me. This is it. And therefore, nothing's ever going to change that, which is why you get called woo-woo or new age, or you get sort of all these labels thrown at you, because it's so, like you say, it's so dead set in our society. This is how it is. There was a wonderful, someone was talking about the first people going over to America, and saying how the Native American Indians were such rotten parents because they didn't ever hit their children. Mm-hmm. And now when you think about that, the way that the Western people have been brought up, the Western civilization has been brought up, it's all been done on, a lot of it's done with force and hitting and getting the children into the positions where they need to be obeying what the parents are saying, no matter what the parents are like. And then you look at how the Native American culture was working, everybody sort of found a way of contributing to the whole, and there tend to be mostly harmony before it got interfered with by outside forces. And then you look at the Western way and how we've all been sort of brought up with trauma inside of us. And it is all about, I'm starting to see with what I'm doing, most of this has got to do with trauma and the stuck cycles that we're in, thinking this is our reality, and therefore we can't budge from it. And it's getting people to actually face that and go, look, this happened to you, right? This happened to you. You're stuck in this cycle. You can change it. And they'll be going, oh, you know, how do I do that? And it's not the easiest thing in the world, but it's not the hardest thing in the world to do, I feel anyway. It's taken me many years to get to the position where now it's things just come to me almost weekly, where I go back in time and go, oh, I forgive myself for putting myself into that position.
Yeah,
I really do forgive myself.
More natural.
It's released. It's gone. It's like,
a lot harder to live like that. That's what people don't realize. It's like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do that. That's frightening. That's scary. And the thing is, at least in the work that I've done over many years at this point, what I've witnessed is the trauma that we're even talking about is trauma that's like sometimes from the very day you were born.
Yeah.
You're born with a cord around your neck, something like that happened, trauma. Yeah. If you were adopted, you were born and you're handed away and you never go back to that familiar heartbeat. Okay. Yeah. That's trauma. That teaches you something, right? And it has you already going, okay, this is there is something wrong. How do I fix this? Who do I need to be? Yeah. And so most people don't realize that the trauma that we're even talking about, even though they can have horrible things happen to them as adults and teenagers, a lot of what I refer to again as the foundational lie, a lot of the root of that goes back to those situations. And, you know, I have literally talked with clients and said, would you let a 3-year-old make these decisions for you? Like, okay, we're talking finances, right? I've done a lot of work with entrepreneurs around money, relationships, and all that stuff. And, you know, it's all a side effect. You know, it's really not about any of that, but the side effect is when you get real with this and you actually move through it, then you have a great relationship to money. Awesome. So it's like, would you let a 3-year-old actually handle your finances? No, I would never do that. But yet that's exactly what they're doing, because it's a 3-year-old that's responding to everything and fighting for everything and pushing things away, because that 3-year-old was so damaged in that second that they made a choice that they had no other idea about, that they said, okay, this is what I've learned, therefore this is how life is. And the biggest clue, Peter, is you said it, this is just who I am.
Yeah.
Well, something I have noticed too with a lot of people is that they carry their health issues or their challenges like a badge of honor. And the worse it is, the more I'm being recognized, the more I have a story that I can share. You see it every day, right? And so that's why I always keep asking, when people are not getting better, how is it benefiting you? What do you get out of not healing? What do you get out of not wanting to heal, for your body to accept the healing? Because at some point we just have to accept it, right? And our body's like, all right, I'll do it. And that's where it's very tricky in today's world. So many coaches are out there, so many therapists, so many healers are out there. Information overload, all the things we can do on our own, and then more and more is being brought to the table, because honestly, I think what is happening now is probably bringing up more so generational trauma.
Absolutely. We're repeating history on this planet right now in many dimensions, right? History's repeating. And there's a lot of individuals here. Okay, I don't know everybody's belief systems that we're talking to, but there's a lot of individuals here that have been around. This is not our first rodeo, not our first lifetime, not the first planet to go through this that some of us have been on. Okay, yes, I know I'm out there. But here we are, and all of it's being triggered. And what an incredible gift at the same time, because I have witnessed healings with individuals, and I have a weird thing with the moniker healer, because, you know, conduit, channel for healing, yes. But I have literally witnessed it clear generations, just like boom, 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 boom. All of a sudden the shifts. And I've had clients call me and go, yeah, my mom just called and said she just had this really interesting experience, or, you know, or yeah, my dad or my grandfather or my brother, or, you know, I just felt this freedom. We carry so many things from a genetic standpoint, from a soul standpoint, from past lives, from just generational drama and trauma. And, you know, when we look at where the world has been, and it's not hard to imagine if people could just set aside their no ways for a second, this can't be, and just say, what if it were possible? What if some of this, just a thread of this, could be true? If I am carrying the energy of those who have gone before me, only imagine, you know, what those connections might be. And no wonder it gets uncomfortable, and no wonder it gets ugly. Nobody wants to hear what they're actually saying to themselves. You guys know that, right? Nobody wants to hear all of
right. Because then you have to actually commit. You have to actually commit to yourself that, oh, it's actually,
and not be angry, because most people will tell themselves, oh, you know, F you, you're awful, you're a terrible person, you're awful, you're a loser, whatever. We have these awful conversations, and then we don't, like, you know, say, okay, I hear you, I love you anyway, right? Like, that's not, and, you know, and it takes a minute to get to that place, but most of the time we're like, F you right back. You know, like, get back in that closet. I'm bricking up that door. You don't exist. And it's like, that's how we get sicker, actually. That's how we end up getting so worn out, because we do not listen to the voices in our head, to the pains in our bodies, to the sickness that can rise from our soul, because we're so disconnected. We don't listen to our hearts, right? We just listen to noise. And that's what gets us sicker. And yes, anytime you go through healing, there's going to be a moment where you have to step into that fire. There is going to be a moment when it just feels, honestly, terrifying, but it's a second. And you're doing it with somebody else, because otherwise you will run screaming back to everything that's familiar. And I'm laughing because it is kind of funny in a way, if you can see it from a perspective of like the higher consciousness and recognizing it's like, oh dear, okay, well, let's try again. It's just like let's set up another set of circumstances to see how we navigate it this time, or let's go back for another life and see if we get it. It's like just having the patience of being the most sacred, divine parent of yourself and giving yourself all the love and all the compassion that you maybe never got.
Well, ever. Another question to ask yourself is, do I feel safe enough to heal?
Yes.
That's a very, very important question to ask every time when clients resist any sort of healing. Do you feel safe enough to actually heal? What would happen if you were completely healed from everything you have? And most of the time it comes back to, then I would have to actually do this, and then I have to do this, and I have this responsibility, and these people may not be in my life again, right? We grew up that way. When you're sick, your parents normally, or most likely, tend more time to you, right? They pay more attention, they look at you more, they're like, oh, sweetie. And when everything is right, it usually is not the case. It's kind of like this fast-paced living. Oh, I have to do this, I have to do that.
Yeah, you don't get yelled at when you're sick.
Exactly. So there is a way. There is. You
don't have to go do something you don't want to do when you're not well, right? And if you're not getting attention, you're getting more attention. One little tiny exercise we're timing out here that I'd love to offer is, you brought up safe, and that's that survival impulse. I would love for people to take a moment and actually write down what they think safe even means, because I have yet to meet a human being when I've literally asked them, okay, what is safe? They don't have a freaking clue. They really don't. They're like, it's this word and it's this thing we're supposed to feel, but they can't define it. I think we all actually have to define what safe means for us.
Yeah.
So awesome.
It's a wild planet we live on. And
it is a wild planet, most definitely. A wild, beautiful planet.
What makes me think about the song, like a rubber band coming bouncing back to you, is like, because your ego doesn't want to come out of its safety blanket, its safety place. It never does. Right. So those
the band comes back, it stings, right? It hurts.
Yeah.
We got to continue this, but okay, everybody, how can people find us?
For us, it is newearthcc.org, where people can come and, find us online. It's all there, all the information. So check us out. And then Peter.
www.consciousmusecollective.com. Consciousmusecollective.com.
That's right. And you have this event coming up in August, right? 19th.
Right. You can find that on the Facebook page, right? At the Conscious Music for the People.
Yeah, there's a Facebook page, Conscious Music for the People. That's the gig. And it's also at the front, there's the landing page of our website, 18th of August, I believe it is. So there's artists starting to line up for that one already. It should be another great event. It's our second one. So looking forward to it. We have
also a workshop coming up on Saturday.
We've got a workshop, Breaking Through the Matrix, Playing the Game of Consciousness. So we've got that coming up.
That's on the Facebook, because I don't think it's on the website. I think it's on Facebook only.
Yeah.
we're organized this time.
We should
up in the right place.
Yeah. It's all got to, yeah.
Awesome. If you guys have any questions, let's get to the Facebook. And it is, I know it's 10 a.m. Central. I think it's 5 p.m. UK time.
5 p.m. UK time. And
it's a 3-hour workshop, and we are literally going through the question of what is consciousness. So if you've ever really conscious, what does it mean to be conscious? What's consciousness? Where does consciousness come from? When are we conscious? When aren't we? All of those questions, and the complete methodology of how to live your life any way you want to. Yeah, right. It is actually a building block to that. Really, it truly is. But it really gets down to whatever you really want to pull out of this, you can get. And it's on Saturday, so go to the Facebook group, check that out. Don't mind me being a little bit silly. And thank you guys. It's always so much fun to be here with you.
But it is, it's all about how you want to do it, playing the game. It is, if you look at this like a school, it's like a game. It is like a game. And we take it, I think, way too seriously sometimes.
Well, yeah. I mean, wouldn't it be nice if we could just do news? That's what I think we can do, news broadcasts that talk about how great the world's doing and how amazing, because really all they're talking about is all just crap and crud and fear. Mm-hmm. And if we actually talked about something else, could you imagine what might happen? There's a thought. We'll leave it there, because why?
Together now we're drifting off and do another session.
Yeah, right. Everybody, together we rise. Much love. Virtual hugs.
Thank you.
Big love for you. Bye bye.
Great week. Bye.